Hey everybody, I'm Mike Jones. I'm a retired Texas police officer.
G'day everybody, I'm Pete Gillette and I'm a retired New South Wales policeman. G'day Mike, how you doing?
Good day, Peter. How are you doing?
I've heard about all your cold weather up there, so your beanie tells me the story and your big coat.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean, can you hear it? I don't know if you can hear it. That's actually sleet hitting the top of my
my
little.
goodness,
Yeah,
strike a light. And
yeah,
one you're looking like a big bear.
yeah. I'm actually pretty warm out here, but I got to go back and forth from the house to out here, so I
Ah,
bundle up. But right above my computer here, I've got a mini split air conditioner slash heater, so
ah,
I'm cozy out here. Yeah,
good. Right.
yeah.
So you have a question on your channel about body cam, I understand.
Yeah, so the viewer, and he goes by Bear Res Ford Thompson 1370.
Mm,
He says a question for he said probably more for Mike, but both may have experienced it. But especially with body cams, do they get reviewed every day? And then he's got a follow-on question to that. So
mm.
y'all didn't have body cams, is that
I didn't have it. No, no.
did anybody in New Southwest Wales
They
have
would have it
one?
now, but not when I
Yeah.
was in. No, nothing.
Do you know if they get reviewed every day or?
No, I don't. No, I have
Yeah,
no, I don't have any real contact, any ongoing contact with serving members. I do have one that's a friend, but I certainly haven't asked her that. No, I don't
yeah.
know.
So to on the or at least the Texas side, I'll put it that way. I don't know, maybe I could narrow it even further, but um no, the answer is no, the body cams didn't get reviewed every day. And
Mm.
here's the reason why. Our shifts were 12-hour shifts. I don't know if yours were or not.
Yeah, yeah, 12 hours, yeah.
Yeah. So the body cam runs 12 hours. Who's going to sit there? If you have 10 guys on duty,
Yeah,
that's what 120 hours a day. I mean, how long is that going to take you to watch? Right.
yeah.
But but I will tell you that those body cams have the footage of that has to be archived for 160, 180 days, 6 months.
Righto.
And
Mm,
so if there is an issue,
mm,
so if there is issue that comes up, say a month from now, somebody complains on a police
mm,
officer,
mm,
then the supervisor could go back
mm,
and review
mm,
that for, as long as it's within that 6 month window.
mm,
After that, they'll purge it.
mm,
But
mm.
if we have a case, if we made a case,
Oh, yeah, right, yeah, yeah.
so we'll download that video and
Mm,
include it with our case file
mm,
to send over to
mm,
the
mm.
prosecutors.
Yeah.
But there's no supervisor, and now the last thing I'll say about that for us is I think the supervisors, I didn't have a supervisor assigned to me to do this to my guys, but I think there are probably some departments that tell their supervisors, hey, just randomly, I need you to look, at you know
Mm,
Joe Smuckatelli's 2 hours of his video cam just to
mm,
just so
mm.
we know everything's on the up and up.
Mm, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The only
So that's
thing we had close to that was that quite a number of times a year, I would be presented with my access to the police database. And the supervisor, I think it might have been an inspector, highlights it. There was X amount of things that he would highlight on a printed piece of paper and say, Peter, tell me why you looked at Mike Jones's profile.
yeah, yeah. We did too,
Mm,
because so it sounds like you guys are the same as us, that information is privileged information.
of
You
course,
have
yeah.
to have a law
Mm,
enforcement reason
mm,
because we know guys, police officers that would run their ex-wife's new boyfriend,
yeah,
for
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
or their daughter's, boyfriend,
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
thing. And we that was forbidden, but we know
Yeah.
guys that, yeah. So
Pretty hefty penalties. It carried jail time, and so it should.
yeah, and you lose your job.
Oh, of course. Yeah, you lose your
Yeah,
job because you're in jail.
yeah, right, right. And you broken the law.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can't be a police officer and break the law, even though
yeah.
they do. That's asinine to me.
Yeah,
You
to
know,
this day, I'm very loath to, inquire into someone else's business.
Yeah.
You want to tell me that's fine, but I'm not going to ask questions that would solicit some sort of private information from someone. I'm just not interested. I know too much already. So
Oh yeah. What if
put
they
me down, Les.
incriminate yourself? If you ask them a question and they incriminate themselves, you being a
Mm,
even a retired police officer, you're gonna
mm,
feel compelled to call the local
mm,
constabulary and say,
mm,
"Hey, I was talking to this guy. He incriminated himself on this, maybe this criminal offense or whatever." I
mm,
mean,
mm,
because you're bound by honor to do that.
mm,
So as
mm,
long as you
mm,
don't ask them questions,
mm.
you know, then you don't have to worry about the answer.
Yeah,
I don't know if I cleaned that up enough, but
yeah, yeah. No,
right.
anyway, that's I don't know in New South Wales how often it's reviewed. I can only imagine that would be something very similar to what you just said, to be archived or X amount of time, and maybe there's a some sort of review or some supervisor might go and look at it. I got no idea, so I can't comment. But
Yeah.
the one of the things that I've had a question in mind for a while, and it's become more in focus just in the last within the last week because of what's happening in Minneapolis or in Minnesota, is about American police seem to require a judge to issue a warrant for somebody's arrest. And the reason that's important or current is because of what happened there was a church service in one of the Twin Cities where some people interrupted, I might be using a pleasant word, a church
Mhm.
service, and they needed permission from a magistrate. Was actually interesting that needed a permission from a magistrate straight judge to arrest these people. So I was wondering, what is that process for getting a warrant for someone's arrest? Because that's quite different to how it is in New South Wales.
Well, I think this is going to be a simple answer, Peter. So here in the United States, if a police officer doesn't view the offense, they show up, that the actor,
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm-hmm.
gone.
Mm-hmm.
You can't
Yeah.
just take somebody's word for it and go to their house and arrest somebody. Now
Mm-hmm.
you have to work up a an arrest packet. You
Mm-hmm.
get you build your case and you build your probable cause.
Mm-hmm.
But then you go to a judge. That'll be your second line of protection for a citizen's rights, and
Okay.
present the judge with all you know. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
your witnesses said this or that, and then you present all this to a judge, and
Mm-hmm.
then the judge decides whether there's enough there for a
Yeah.
criminal,
Mm-hmm.
and there has to be enough there for a criminal, for the criminal process. You can't just go to the judge and say he he shot a spitball at somebody. It's not a criminal offense.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't just go arrest somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's within view, so if there was a police officer in that church, he viewed these people.
Mm-hmm.
In Texas, we don't need a warrant for that because it's
Mm-hmm.
on view. So maybe
Mm-hmm.
that'll answer your question as far as Texas goes.
Okay, that is because in New South Wales, I would say all of Australia, the only time we go to a judge or a magistrate to get a warrant is if I cannot find the person, and so I'll go to go. It's not even a magistrate. You just go to a justice of the peace over at the
Mm-hmm.
courthouse,
Yeah.
swear out the information, and say that I've done these inquiries and I can't find the person. So they just issue a warrant for that person's arrest. It's called an arrest warrant.
Yeah.
But what happens in this country is that I don't witness the offence, and so I then get the information, the evidence, whatever that might be, and then it's myself that makes that lays the charge. Where you might use a judge, or where you do use a judge in Australia or New South Wales, I then what's called submitting a charge to to another police officer, and they look at it, and essentially they're just making sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, and they
Mm-hmm.
accept the charge. And that doesn't even have that can be someone of a junior rank to the person that's actually laying the charge. And so that's one of the big differences is that yeah, I just can't go and charge someone without someone else's permission or without someone else's approval might be the better word than permission.
Well, I
Um,
think I think we're essentially saying the same thing. It's just the title of the person that might
mm,
view, you
mm,
know, same way. If I was 100% sure this cat did it, and I
mm,
worked up the process, I still
mm,
can't, act
mm,
on it unless it's within view. And you're probably
mm,
the same way down there. If it's within view, you saw it with your own eyes, then you can
mm,
affect the arrest,
mm,
right?
mm,
So we have to have a second eyes just like you. Ours
mm,
is just happens to be a magistrate,
mm,
could be a JP, could be a district judge, could be a county court. It just has to be a judicial
mm.
magistrate. You know.
Yeah, so that raises another thing in New South Wales, and it may only be New South Wales, that we could put someone in jail for the night. Because as you know, that police are there to put people before a court, not to punish. So,
Hmm.
but in New South Wales, if we can bail refuse, and it doesn't have to be, you can be a probationary constable and do that. So I'm going to,
Wow.
sorry, no, that's not quite right. An officer makes the arrest, lays the charge, and another officer accepts that charge, and but then there's a decision about bail. And
Yeah.
let's just say that it's after hours, like the court's not sitting. So we can bail refuse, police can bail refuse, which means you're going to put someone in prison as opposed to police custody. And if the court's not sitting, that person stays in jail
Yeah.
overnight.
Same here.
And that's a judicial process. It's one of the interesting times when police actually become judicial officers.
Yeah.
They actually
No.
play a judicial role. Yeah.
Yeah. I think what you're saying is we do the same thing here. Uh, if we view it,
Mm,
let me ask you this. Maybe give you this scenario, and this will answer my question. So let's say it was a church in New South Wales,
mm,
and they broke in, and it wasn't under the view of a police officer, a sworn officer, right?
mm,
And then they dispersed, and someone said, "Yeah, I saw Joe Smucktelly. He was the one that was one of the people here."
mm.
Now, is that enough information for you guys to go to that Joe Smucktelly's house and arrest him on simply on somebody else's say so?
If they make a
Or
signed statement, yes.
okay,
Mm,
yeah. So we wouldn't be able to do that.
mm,
We
mm,
if it's not within view for
mm,
us,
mm,
we can't go affect their arrest
mm,
if the person's no longer on site, right?
mm, mm,
But basically, it sounds like we really got. If I arrest somebody that's got a warrant issued out of another department, right,
mm.
and I
Okay,
pull
yeah.
him over and I run his information, and the
Mm,
dispatch says, yeah, he's wanted out of another town, and it could be for anything, but he's got a warrant. Yeah, then we take him to jail. You guys call it prison, and he either pays his fine or he stays in there till the judge sits, like you guys.
mm,
If
mm.
it's on a Friday, the judge is not going to be there till Monday.
Yeah.
So he'll sit there all night unless they pay the fine that's associated with that warrant.
Okay,
Some
right.
warrants, yeah,
Yeah.
some warrants is a no fine warrant that
Mm,
requires the magistrate who's going to sit, even if it's in a different county or city, to
mm,
set a bail. And
mm.
then they'll set a bail, and then they can be released, and then they go through the court system.
Yeah,
But
we have if we arrested someone on Friday night and bail refused them, so they go into prison overnight, there's always a bail hearing the next day, like on Saturday morning.
oh,
So
okay.
that would be in the courthouse, and once not going to be a proper magistrate, it would be a judicial officer, maybe a
Hmm.
justice of the peace, and
Yeah.
and there'll be a prosecutor, and at least once I was the prosecutor. So you get the honorary rank of sergeant when you're the prosecutor, and so
Hmm.
you stand up in the court, and and the whole thing.
Yeah.
But the only the other one of the other times when I said that we needed a signed statement is enough. And a signed statement has a jurat thing. It's a Latin jurat, Jurat, and that just means part of the jurat is that essentially I will go to court and give this evidence if required, and they sign that. And so if they don't sign, if they then as it goes to a hearing, like the person pleads not guilty, and the witness doesn't show up, and I've subpoenaed them to appear in court, a warrant can be issued for their arrest by the magistrate or the judge.
Yeah.
The time when you don't need that is that when it's a domestic violence related incident and you don't need a signed statement. And this has happened to me numerous times. You go to the scene, you go to the job, and this happened. The lady says he hit me. That's enough.
Yeah.
He hit me. I was walking down a driveway to the job. The suspect was standing on the veranda. I walked down the driveway. I think it was his daughter. I said, "What's happened?" She said, "He hit me." That's enough. Go up there, grab him, put him in the truck, and if need be, almost all the time you're going to get a signed statement. But to make the arrest, don't need that. Mm.
But you got to have evidence too. I mean, because women are
Mm,
can be, especially in domestic violence
mm,
situations,
mm,
they can be vengeful and they
mhm,
can say, "Well, I'm just going to call the police and tell them you
mm.
hit me."
Yeah, yeah, of
So, but
course, yeah.
yeah, so
As
we
if,
have to have
yeah, it comes
corroborating
down to your
evidence.
discretion. Yeah.
Yeah, it does because women can be batterers too. I
Mm.
mean,
I know of one.
but
Yeah. Mm,
yes, but
mm,
as men, especially of our generation, we don't see it that way initially. We think the man is always going to be the
mm,
offender here, but sometimes it's the woman, and
mm,
so the man might have marks on him, the woman might have marks on
mm.
her.
Yeah,
You got to
yeah,
separate them. You got to get
yeah,
down to the story.
yeah,
Sometimes you arrest the woman.
yeah. We,
So
we there's actually there's actually a time when we were supposed to not arrest. We weren't supposed to go to a violent domestic on our own.
yeah,
We always had to call someone up to back us up. And this particular night, there was a over the radio violent domestic, and so I went, and I was pretty close by, and I couldn't, with a clear conscience, I couldn't not go straight away.
got to go.
So
Yeah,
I went, and I was always very switched on. But what I noticed when I got there, it's in a pretty small, isolated rural village. When I got there, I'm doing reconnaissance, of course, on the outside of the building.
you're
There was
listening.
Harley Davidson memorabilia, and might have been signs or maybe the forks off a Harley, something like that. And I'm thinking, I hope it's not a bikie in here, but it turned out it wasn't, and made the arrest, and everything was okay. But um, yeah, but and I guess they're there for good reasons, but you just have to make sure you're doing everything switched on.
Yeah, I think here in Texas, I think you would be facing personal liability if you didn't respond. I mean, it's going to be
Mm,
scary.
mm,
I agree with
mm,
you.
mm,
Policy is good to say, there's going to be two of you, but if
mm.
your backup is 10 miles away or 10
Yeah,
minutes away, you gotta suck it up
yeah,
and
that's
and
right.
go handle. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And because it could mean the difference between her surviving or
yeah,
not surviving.
yeah, exactly. And I mean, and they're only what you call protocols or bit. No, forget about it. If someone's in danger, you
Yeah,
have to go in, and we are duty bound to go in. So I remember going to a brawl once, and there was a brawl between two lots of families in this particular town. It was at night, and they just started brawling with each other. And the inspector showed up. That's a commission rank, and it was his instructions. He said, we're gonna hang back here, and if they start, no, sorry, I got that wrong. If they start fighting, I can't remember why. There might have been a noise complaint. But if they start fighting, we've got to go in. And there's no doubt about that. You just got to go in, suck it up and go in.
yeah.
But I
Everybody
think
wants to
it's
be everybody wants to be police until it's time to be a policeman.
that's right. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And what I've always noticed, one of the things I know when I used to train probationary constables, there was two things I looked out for. So they're brand new, got brand new on the street, and there was two things I would say to them. First is that if I tell you to call urgent on the radio, because they usually carried the radio, if I tell you to call urgent, do not question why, because I'll know
Right.
things you don't know. Instantly do that. Call for urgent assistance. Second one is there's no dumb questions. If
Yeah,
you don't know, if there's something you don't understand, I don't care what it is, just ask. And
yeah,
maybe there was a third thing. Well, third thing I look for, I don't want to see a reverse gear. If the poo's hitting the fan and you're running away, you're no good to me. You need to be
yeah.
able to step up and take it on the chin and yeah. So and doesn't matter.
Did
I
y'all
found
ever?
that. I go on.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I thought you were
That's all
you
right. Go
were.
on.
I was just going to say, I think I've asked this question before. Did y'all wear body armor on duty?
No, no, not the times I'm talking about. No, nothing. No,
Wow.
no.
Do they wear body armor down there now? You know,
They would. Yeah, yeah. They would have. Towards the end of my career, we got issued with Kevlar. You could wear
oh yeah,
Kevlar,
yeah,
but
okay,
not. Oh, we had we in every vehicle there was the ceramic plated bullet resistant vests
yeah,
that would supposedly
heavy,
stop a 7.62 millimeter round.
yeah,
But I think in 14 years I probably wore it two or three times. You know,
yeah,
going to and one of them. So it's very rare to wear them, but they're there if you need it.
yeah. Those the ones you're talking about. They're very heavy.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
issued one. I probably carried it for 5 years in the back of my car. Never
Mm,
once put it on. But we have lighter weight, ones
mm,
that
yeah.
you know. Hopefully, it'll stop a pistol bullet. But thank God
Mm,
I was never shot to find out. Um, but it's kind of like a seatbelt. You kind of get used
mm,
to it. It
yeah.
doesn't breathe. You just burn up in the summer, and
Yeah.
you know it's
Yeah.
great in the winter though.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. I think ours were mostly meant to stop slash, like with knife slash, as opposed to a projectile.
yeah, maybe so. Yeah, it just give you some kind of comfort, I guess.
Mm,
When you're my wife would always insist, but I wouldn't wear the back Kevlar or the Kevlar. It it was it wasn't those ceramic plates. It was Kevlar, like you're talking about,
yeah.
a real
Yeah.
thick material.
Mm,
But I wouldn't wear one in the back because, in my mind, I'm not backing up. I'm not turning
mm,
around and
yeah.
running.
That's right.
Probably dumb. That's how my mentality was.
Uh,
It was probably not the smartest mentality to have, but
that's a good
thank
one, though.
God. Yeah, I wasn't going to turn around. I mean,
No.
because I've told myself my whole career, and I had this discussion with myself a lot of times,
Mm,
that what we do can be scary sometimes, but you still got to do it. They
yeah,
depend on
exactly.
you, and
Yeah.
you can't call 911 for us 911 because we are the 911, right? So you got
That's
to sit
it.
there and duke it out.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
you
And that's
right?
and I found that a real privilege. I might not feel it at the time, but you've got to, to use your expression, you got to duke it out. And
Yeah,
there's no, what I always found is that once you take a step towards someone, they always back down. I can remember one
yeah,
time there was getting rid of some drunken fool from a hotel. They didn't want him in the pub, and he was. I'll bet he was ordinarily a good bloke. Reasonable bloke,
yeah,
but he just was drunk, full of what we say, full of grog and bad manners, and the bouncer wouldn't let him into the pub. And I had the big, the big baton. It's in the back in the truck. Had it over
yeah,
my shoulder, and in that threatening pose that we're supposed to use it, and and he just backed away. But
yeah.
some people
It,
just they get full of grog and bad manners.
yeah, I the only time I can even remember having a really a big no one ever tried to hurt me. Let me put it that way. They
Mm,
might have tried to get away, and I was in between them and getting away, and they tried to run over me, and then
yeah.
but they never try to choke me out or take my gun or I
Mm,
mean, and they didn't want me to put handcuffs on them, but they
yeah.
weren't hitting me,
Yeah.
so they still they still respected me, but they wanted to they didn't want to go to jail,
Mm, yeah.
so
Yeah.
and I didn't hurt them either, I mean,
Mm,
because we
mm,
discussed the force continuum, if they're not
mm,
trying to hurt you, don't
mm,
hurt them, you know.
mm, mm,
Uh,
mm.
get them in handcuffs, do what you got to do, but don't go overboard and
Mm.
elbow them in the face or something like that, because
One of the
really
things
not
that
trying to hurt you.
Yeah. One of the things that was introduced into our training came out of a situation in Sydney. I think it was at a casino where security guards put a man on the ground and he died from what's called positional asphyxiation. He
Yeah.
couldn't breathe and
Hmm.
he died. And so that was introduced into our training about positional asphyxiation. And essentially, it's like putting your knee in someone's back. Anyway,
Yeah,
but
it's
and I
uncool.
remember one time when there was a pursuit. I think it might have been a stolen car, and it was through the city of Dubbo, which is a pretty big town, like 40,000 people, and it was in heavy traffic. So anyway, there was this pursuit of this stolen car, And when we got the car stopped and we got the person out of the car, put the person on the ground, and there was a pretty senior constable that was there, and he was actually did a fantastic job of actually orchestrating that arrest because there's adrenaline running. The police get the man out of the car. We don't need any more police on him than absolutely necessary. So he was saying,
Right.
okay, you do this, you do that, the rest of you stand back there. You needed
Yeah.
someone to orchestrate it, and that was
Yeah.
very important.
You know, man, I'm until you until civilians, you know, they think we're heavy-handed anyway. But until you get into the position of actually being in a pursuit, you
Mm.
know, with the adrenaline, like you said, with the adrenaline, uh, you have to have the wherewithal once that pursuit is over with. Like I was telling you about the guy on the motorcycle that ran out of gas,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah, he's like, well, you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to be in pursuit. Now that's Dallas. This is not Dallas, you know. Uh,
Yeah.
but
Mm.
he was just on the side of the road, and we'd probably chase this guy for 40 miles. I don't. It was a long time we
That's
chased
a
this guy.
long way. Yeah.
I mean, motorcycles just accelerate so fast.
Yeah.
Our policy, we aren't allowed to use spike strips on a motorcycle. We're not
Mm.
allowed to hit them with our car to to run them off the road. They're on a motorcycle, so
Mm.
they're running from us. That's one thing, but
Mm.
you still, that's what people don't understand. We still have to protect the person that we're going after
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well as
Of course.
everybody else around,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. It's
because we have to live with whatever we do,
uh, uh,
So it's a fine line that we run. But the thing is once you've got him in custody, he's in custody. He gives up. Don't
yeah.
tackle him,
Yeah.
you know?
You know,
He-
one of my favourite sounds from the police is those handcuffs going on, that click, click, if the
yeah,
handcuffs going on.
yeah. When
Once
I
you've
have
got,
some,
you got a
yeah,
pair, have you?
there we
Yeah.
there we go.
Are they Saf lock or spell
No, you,
pierce?
you have to double lock them,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah. We double locked there.
yeah. Same way with these.
Can you just show me the side of it? Hold it up a bit
Uh,
higher. Oh, yeah,
yeah.
we turn it around the other way. Yeah, I think they were on issue to some police. Most police in New South Wales had SAF lock, SAF LACK.
Oh yeah. I don't. I think these are Smith and Wesson to tell you the truth.
Okay, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, I love the sound of those of the clicks going on because that meant it was all over.
Yeah. And you and I have discussed it before. We if you treat people with respect, even if they are criminals, you
Mm,
treat them with respect, they'll respect you for doing your
mm,
job,
mm,
but they won't
mm.
respect you if you are heavy-handed with them and you're
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
something wrong because you can, because
Mm,
you got a
yeah,
badge and
yeah.
you
Mm.
put your knee in the middle of somebody's back that has already given up,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
then
yeah,
you're
yeah.
I don't, man, I don't think that's cool.
No, it's not. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we've
But
got the signal. Yeah,
oh,
time's
we
up.
already got the signal. What we'll do next or next week, I've
Yeah.
got I want to finish Bear Rest for us. He had some follow-on questions to that. We'll
Okay.
do it next
Right.
week. All
Cool.
right,
Right.
buddy.
Well, thanks very much, and hopefully you won't freeze between your bear's den and your house.
Yeah, I hope let's keep our fingers crossed. Good
Okay.
seeing you, Peter.
Right, mate. Ta-da.